To always get the latest Game Tea, do not forget to follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook at The Game Tea Podcast, and you can find us on Twitter at Game Tea Podcast X. We post memes, gaming news, retweet friends of the pod, and of course let you know when new episodes are available for your listening pleasure. Links are all available in the description of this episode, so check them out after the show, and thank you so much for listening to the Game Tea Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Game Tea Podcast. My name is JP.
I'm Peaches.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Czar.
Let me tell you something about this podcast. Something I love. Winky! Something I love about the hosts that we have on this podcast is it's very clear that we all have a very different taste in video games. Is that fair? Is that fair?
Oh yeah, that's fair. We are very diverse here.
Right, so whenever we have the opportunity to talk about a game that all four of us are actually interested and actively playing, we've got to talk about it, right? It just doesn't happen very often.
Last time I think was Super Mario 3D All-Stars? Maybe?
Jesus, is that really true? Is that the last time?
2 years ago.
Oh my god. All right, well, we need to jump on the opportunity to be able to talk about a game that we all have been playing, have enjoyed playing, and have quite a bit of thoughts on. So, today we're talking about Pokémon Legends Arceus. Now, technically this is within Zach's realm, so for the most part, he's going to be emceeing the show. So Zach, tell us a little bit about what you want for us to be doing today.
Well, I think we can just kind of go through the outline I got here, and I think overall just start off with how are you guys' first impressions with the game, and don't step on my outline or I'll kill you. So go ahead, give me your first impressions without spoiling anything. Starting with Peaches.
Oh, starting with Peaches. Well,
Nobody wants to start with peaches.
oh,
Watermelons maybe, but not peaches.
well,
I like grapes.
Nobody likes grapes.
excuse me?
You heard what I said. This is now the Fruit Tea Podcast. We just give our hottest takes about fruit. Honeydew is a garbage piece of fruit.
Okay, but you just, that saying that nobody likes grapes is a volcanic take.
That's very gatekeepy towards fruit, and I don't appreciate it.
Fruit enthusiasts.
So anyways, my first impressions of Pokemon Legends Arceus, I mean, I was drawn to it just because it was different than every other Pokemon. So I appreciated right off the bat that it changed up the Pokemon formula, at least a smidgen. But
He's scared. He's looking down. I appreciate that. He's like, checking the outline.
Checks notes.
yeah, I'll just pass it off to you guys. I'll leave it there.
Because like the whole point is just like initial thoughts, right? So we'll get into the nitty gritty of what that means here in a minute. For me, you have to keep in mind that like what they're building here is literally my dream Pokemon game. So every thought that I am going to give on the game is going to be extremely critical. Right? If we're just giving our general thoughts, I think it's very fun. I think it's a very fun game where Game Freak really needs to step up their game in a few different areas, which we will get into. But for the most part, I appreciate that finally they're doing something different. And it's successful for the most part. It's a really fun game. And yeah, we'll get into exactly what that means here in a minute. Like the different details after Czar gives us his thoughts.
All right, so I do really enjoy this game. I haven't gotten to play it much. My wife is still going through it. But my first impressions on it were very, very nice. I thought they did a lot of the aspects wonderfully, and it adds a level of realism seen in the Pokemon universe that we haven't experienced before, because now these wild Pokemon are actually interacting with the player. And the player has to decide when they want to use their Pokemon to, combat the other Pokemon out in the world. And I think that's awesome.
I like to think that you're just at home, Czar, like, babe, can I have a turn on the Arceus machine? She's like, no!
One of the favorite memories I will ever hold in this marriage is just the first night we had Arceus, and we didn't even have the TV on. I just sat and laid in bed with her and watched her play on the Switch and was like, oh, this is so cool. It seems so familiar, but it also seems new and exciting. So it's just wonderful.
It is nice being able to just like watch your SO play a game. Like Christine isn't that big into video games. Right now she's playing a pizza game on the Nintendo Switch where you just make pizzas. And then she's really into this game called like Turnip Commits Tax Evasion or something like that. Have you heard of this game?
What?
No.
Actually, I think I have.
Oh, guys, we got to talk more about this game. We'll get into that later. It's amazing. It's about a turnip, and get this, he commits tax evasion. And the mayor bribes him into doing things around this kingdom of vegetables.
Oh, okay. You gotta set the setting there.
It's fucking stellar. It's fucking stellar. So, yeah, I do appreciate that this is the kind of game that you've been able to play with your wife, Czar.
And picking back off that, I think it is one of those games where it's kind of fun just to kind of watch and see the world. That'll be something to get to in a second. We've kind of talked about it a few times for the podcast, but let's just do a brief synopsis of what's our Pokemon experience. So for instance, I've been playing Red and Blue since I was a wee lad in the back of the Target parking lot. And I don't think...
What were you doing in the back of the Target parking lot?
I just literally have like the worst memory ever, but I remember my sister getting Pokemon Blue, me getting Pokemon Red, and then the next 2 years were just a blur.
The next 2 years you were in the Target parking lot.
I don't know how accurate that is, but I do know that I got Pokemon Yellow like recently after, and I was hooked. Just the IV was in my arms. I did definitely fall out of love with it from like Pokemon Diamond to Pokemon Black, but I've come to appreciate those titles as well, and I pretty much got every single one played, and at least the main story beaten. What about you guys? Let's start with Czar this time.
All right. I started with Pokemon Yellow, probably around 4 or 5 years old, shortly after it got Red and Blue, and yeah, I've just been in love with Pokemon ever since. Cards to video games, love it all.
So with that, we can pass to you. Guys,
Peaches.
Come on. Do I really gotta tell you who's next? Just don't interrupt each other. God damn.
I thought this was your episode.
Well, I just feel like I'm holding your hand now. You guys are adults.
That's literally my entire job that I do every episode.
Just thought you BS, man. Fine, I'll BS.
Partially I do. All right, Peaches, give us your...
No, fuck Peaches. All right, he had his chance. It's your turn.
You had your chance, Peaches. I guess what kind of makes me different is I was a little bit later to the Pokemon game. In fact, I was late to the gaming trend in general. Like, you guys all started off with probably like some of you like as early as like Super Nintendos or like the N64. My first ever game console was a PS2, and then I got the GameCube. So the first Pokemon game I ever played was 3rd gen. I think I got Pokemon Sapphire. That's where I started off, right? As opposed to Zach, though, when the 4th generation came out, that's when, like, I had fun with Pokemon Sapphire, right? But, like, my love for Pokemon was really cemented with the 4th generation. Despite some of the Sinnoh region's biggest flaws, which there are a few, I think the games were fantastic and still one of the most innovative Pokemon games that have ever been made. And I've been just a huge Pokemon fan basically ever since then. So, about 2005, 2006-ish.
All right, and so with that, it's kind of where our reviews will lie, kind of seeing where we started and where our nostalgia blinds us. And yeah, let's kind of start with the negative. What do you guys think about the graphics or the art style? How are you guys feeling about that?
I knew that was going to be the first topic.
Because you read the outline?
We should...
Oh.
Well, yes.
There's an outline?
There's an outline?
Oh my God.
Czar, since you knew, you go, baby. I believe in you.
I mean, it's kind of hard to dissect the graphics of it because yes, they do look a little rough, but how much of that was actually intended? Because I mean, from afar, and what I noticed when you look at like vast landscapes, it's very much like a watercolor come to life and almost like a painting. And so I don't know how much of that transitioned from landscape to like examining a blade of grass. Because yeah, the closer you get, it's going to look really rough. But there are a lot of frame drops that I noticed that I really thought would be fixed at this point. I don't know, have you guys seen any of that?
Absolutely. I mean, let's be real here. This is the weakest part about this game is how it looks. I don't even know where to start. Here's what's great about the graphics and the art style here is the Pokemon all actually have, like, when they're like doing their moves, there's more animations than there have ever been for like specific Pokemon with specific moves. That's fantastic because they've been using the same shitty, this Pokemon just goes back and forward a couple times, but their sprite doesn't actually move. They just wiggle it. And that's like flamethrower or something, you know? And it's bullshit. But no, here they actually did a much better job of giving the Pokemon like animations that make the battles feel more exciting. And I think that's great. That's one of my favorite things about what they did with the graphics and the art style in this one. Everything else is fucking booty cakes. I'm sorry.
So going to your booty cakes, to describe me those booty cake graphics.
Let me tell you about the booty cakes. So it's very clear that the whole point of the Legends series of Pokemon is to be more of an immersive Pokemon game that's pseudo open world, right? It's not open world because like you still have to unlock each area, and then like you don't get to just go wherever the fuck you want. You have to stay within the perimeters of that area. So therefore it's not truly open world Pokemon, but it's getting a lot closer, right? But if you're gonna engage with that kind of game, like, first of all, the landscape felt extremely empty. Like, I feel like there's so much more that they could have put into the land to make it more interesting in every area, because it's just like grasslands and trees. And like, I understand full well that your whole point in the game is to go out and complete the Pokedex, which is ironic because that's technically the goal in every Pokemon game. But I digress. But just the landscape is so fucking empty, right? Pokemon sprites are still very static. Like, sure, they walk around and maybe do a little action here and there, but for the most part, like, it still feels kind of empty when they move. Like, the way that the frame drops when you look at a Pokemon from the distance is fucking crazy, right? Like, watching a Staraptor in the distance, like, literally flap their wings at 4 FPS. Literally 4 FPS. That is not an exaggeration.
It's really bad. And like then they just kind of blink across the screen rather than actually moving.
Yes. Character pop-ins fucking piss me off because they could have done a better job with that. In fact, the NPCs of the world are so static and boring. They don't do shit. Like, there's a chick with a broom that just sweeps day and night, and that's as interesting as NPC animations fucking get. I could go on and on. I want to let somebody else talk, but all I'm gonna say is, in my opinion, the graphics and the art style is the weakest part of this game. And for what was supposed to be a pseudo open world Pokemon game, that's unacceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. It definitely was disheartening to see this giant multi-billionaire highest grossing media franchise drop the ball so hard on something when they have very many avenues to not just give us the bottom line. But yeah. Ches, anything you want to add on to that, or do you think JP kind of hit that one on the head?
I mean, JP got most of it. I will say that like he kind of talked about how empty the world is. Like, I think he was talking about just like the environments like lacking like a lot of visual detail. I think the world feels empty just in terms of things to do in it.
Yeah.
In Legend of Zelda, like, you have all these different ways to interact with the open world, like Korok puzzles, and then like the actual like shrines to go to, and the climb me uppy bits, and you can like interact with the environments and do all these cool things. And like in Pokemon, you only interact with the world like in a set few ways, and it makes the open world feel very boring as a whole.
I totally agree. There's more that they could have done to make you feel like you're interacting with the world. And here's what's really interesting is, like, this is all pre-Sinnoh, right? I don't know how far in the future it is, but this is the Sinnoh region. So they've got plenty of 4th generation, like, legends and material that they could work off of. And they, like, what's genius is they just released the Gen 4 remakes. So Gen 4 is still fresh in all our minds. They could have easily put like a bunch of aspects that we've seen in that game and about like the legend of that game with Palkia and Dialga and like the 3 legendary fairies, things like that. They could have put all of that story-wise or like some kind of mechanic in the game to make the land more interesting, and they just didn't. And it feels like just a giant missed opportunity.
When you mean when like interacting with the world, is that like, what do you like? I think I need to flesh that one out a little bit more, JP, because all of those are in the game.
Okay, so like what Peaches just brought up with like the Korok seeds, like, yes, these things are all a part of the game, but it's nothing more than like a crummy cutscene or just like fetch quests or things like that. They could have been a lot more creative, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that those elements are absent. I'm just saying that the ways in which they are present doesn't really feel all that impactful.
And I do like kind of where we're going with this, because it's like JP said at the beginning, all right, I hope we got that one on audio. It's like JP's like, I'm trying to build my perfect Pokemon game. And Pokemon's a huge demographic, but I do think like that's where we're coming from here, is like we love Pokemon. Like I think all of us do. And they don't really have excuses. So we're just sitting here like, hey, if we think it, they could probably do it if they actually put in some time / more than half a year to work on these games. I know they spent more than half a year to work on these games, but they're pumping out like 2 or 3 games a freaking year.
Okay, so here's an idea that I had based on like the third landscape. Now, this is a little bit of spoilers for the game, but not super serious. Do you remember that one quest where like you specifically need a Dusclops in order to proceed?
Yes.
Why is that, besides side missions, which that's literally all the side missions are, hey, bring me this Pokemon, right? But why not like implement those kinds of elements with like other parts of the world? Like what if there's like blocked off caves or puzzles or things like that, but you need to catch a specific Pokemon in order to proceed? Or maybe you need a Pokemon with a like specific moveset to proceed, right? Things like that. And then, you know, in return for doing so, you receive an reward, or like you get to battle a really rare Pokemon with a great, you know, unique move or something like that. Or I don't know.
I like the sounds of that.
The ability to be able to just go in the field and like catch the Pokemon was fucking amazing. But if your goal is to also make the player want to interact with the world more, that's how you do it.
And that's how you want to, so like the different ride Pokemon, basically. But like it would be like any Pokemon could just interact with the environment, and it would give you like a special pass to like not necessarily a totally unique thing, but at least like a stronger version of X Pokemon or like whatever, like a Super Dusclops.
That's just one idea. That's just one idea. But like, and even that's not perfect, but that would have at the very least made things a little bit more interesting in the world.
Well, and kind of jumping off of that idea, I mean, it really would add another layer to the story of like very early human interaction and integration with the Pokemon of the world to, you know, have specific Pokemon that do specific things that you need to catch. Like maybe you need to break this specific rock. Well, you're not going to get a Bidoof to do that. Like you'd need a Geodude or some sort of like rock type Pokemon. I think that would have added another layer.
I find your lack of faith in Bidoof disturbing.
Okay, Bidoof was a bad example because Bidoof is the ultimate god Pokemon.
Oh, dude, that was all my HMs went to B-Barrel in Gen 4 all the time because you surf, rock smash, strength, that bitch can do it all.
But it wasn't
I think you can learn
Bidoof.
waterfall. So it's just Bidoof 2.0.
That's not Bidoof.
Well, I think Bidoof can do all those things too, though.
Bidoof does them better.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
You know.
So as we're getting off topic, and I do love the Bidoof talk, but I do have more to get to. I do kind of want to end the graphics on a high note. Like the textures are disgusting, and how you turn the camera, and sometimes it's see-through, and like the Pokeballs can fall through the floor at times, and the jank with. And I know that's kind of technical, but I think it also has to do with like it seems like they could have spent more time developing these landscapes, so I kind of threw it into here. It's just like, But the art style, the watercolor they were going for, I love that. I love how they have some of the best, like not realistic looking skies, but it's just gorgeous looking skies. And I'm sure it's just like a PNG file or whatever, but it looks amazing. And I like I just like the watercolor vibes. I just think it makes everything pop, and it makes the moves pop more with it. I just think they need to flesh it out more.
I've heard a lot of people criticize the watercolors, but I'm glad that you think you like them because I was on the same boat.
Yeah, and I think with Pokemon, man, there's like, what was their Unreal Engine, like where they showed like realistic looking Pokemon, and like that didn't vibe with me, but a bunch of people loved it. So it's like the demographics just so huge with Pokemon. You're never gonna make everybody happy, but it is what it is. I kind of want to go into the characters next, because I think it'll be quick. They were fine. They were very one note, predictable, and there. Do you guys have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I can't tell you a single character's name because all of them are so bleh, nothing characters, and I don't care about them. If they fell off of a cliff and died, I wouldn't know the difference.
It's so unbelievably true. There was nothing. I feel like Nintendo's idea of a super interesting character in Pokemon is they just look fucking weird, and that's character development right there. That's as much as they need to do. But I'm with Peaches. Like, fuck those characters. I didn't care about any of them. The only ones that were like mildly kind of interesting were those thief sisters, but even they were so fucking generic. It's like, it's a very specific kind of generic too, right? Like the same type of Pokemon NPCs we've been seeing since like the latest art style of Pokemon, which has been what, like Gen 6? I totally agree with Peaches. Fuck those characters. I didn't care about a single person, except maybe the funny professor with the fun hat. I just like his hat.
And I liked him too, but he's Professor Oak with the fun hat. Zard, anything else you want to add?
Not really. I mean, you guys are right. It's the same characters that Pokemon's been doing over and over, and I've never been invested in them. And I've never been invested in them, so I didn't get invested this time around either.
Right.
One critique I do have that, like, to be fair, like, I had this exact same critique for Breath of the Wild. This would have been the perfect opportunity to try some voice acting.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you could have really done a lot more. Like, if the whole point of this game was to get experimental with a beloved franchise that's been stale for 2 decades, this would have been a good opportunity to finally try voice lines. Even doing that, like, it wouldn't have made the writing better, but it would have made things a little bit more memorable, and it would have made the cutscenes a little more tolerable.
Totally agree.
There is one character at the end. Like, I'm curious. Like, have you guys gotten to the post game?
No. I'm about 65 to 70% of the way through the game.
Okay. What about you, Peaches? And yeah.
I think I'm about the same spot as JP. I am like getting close. Like, I got to the snowy area, so I think I'm getting close to the end, but I'm not quite there.
And then Zar, you just started, right? Like Lauren's on the second area, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. She just got the ability to swim.
Okay. All right. And so at the very end, there is one character that kind of like piqued my interest because I just didn't see that coming. Like, which was like, I guess, ironic, but 1 out of like 80 characters, not a saving grace. But so the quote unquote true ending, it's like part of the post game or whatever. That was like the one unique character. But I think that kind of segues nicely into the Hisuian? Yeah, that's right.
Hisuian?
Sure. Tomato. Arceus. All right, anyway. What did you guys think of the new forms? Like, for me, like, Typhlosion, like, I saw the leaks and I was really bummed at first because his flames weren't even on. Like, and I was like, okay, calm down. It's your baby. You love Typhlosion, but hey, maybe the flames will be animated. And they were. And I pretty much replaced all my Pokemon throughout the journey, but I could not take my Typhlosion out of my team. I don't know if it was like starter love or just, I was really vibing with the new one and he felt really strong, but not like OP strong.
Well, that's just also natural Pokemon instinct. If we're being honest, never take your starter out of your team.
Yeah.
Like,
true.
But like,
true.
I guess like they didn't ruin Typhlosion. And in fact, I'd say like he looks cool. Like it's a good change to his quote unquote character, I guess. I love that new update. Was there any Pokemon like that for you?
Chaz, sound like you had something to say.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say that
Peaches,
like,
you can talk now.
I just wanted to say that I don't think I've ever been closer to taking a starter out of my party than in this game.
Who'd you pick?
I got Typhlosion, but I'm thinking, like, what's the point of having Typhlosion when I can have, like, an alpha Infernape? You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Totally see your point on that. But, like, aside from power levels, like, I'm just talking, like, looks and stuff. Because I think that alpha Infernape's, like, what, level 65?
Yeah, I think this game is, like, one of the few games where it's, like, it's actually, like, super viable and honestly likely that you're going to put your starter away. Because if you want the strongest team, you probably want all alpha Pokemon.
That's fair.
Yeah, that is a very good point.
So to go off of Zach's question regarding Pokemon forms, I liked all the new forms. The ones I've seen the most criticism for have been Growlithe, for starters. I don't know. I think the Growlithe and the Arcanine, they're different and off-putting a little bit at first if you're a super big fan. Like I know one of our really good friends, his favorite Pokemon is Growlithe. But since I don't hold the same, I like Growlithe, but he's not one of my favorites. So I was able to look at the new designs with more of a subjective, like, okay, this is interesting and I like it. Basculegion, fucking dope. Now my starter was Rowlet, and Rowlet Decidueye was one of my favorite starters ever besides Empoleon, right? Which is cool because I get to have both of them on my team naturally for once, but we'll get into that soon. The final form for Decidueye, I'm gonna admit, I don't like it nearly as much as I like the OG. But it grew on me to a different extent because the typing is different too, which I found interesting, right? It's not just about the looks, it's about the typing that changes. And I'm like, okay, this is different, but that's the whole point of this game, is for them to do things that are different. And I can't necessarily criticize them for that.
I saw one thing where, because like the grass starter, he turns into like a grass fighting type at the end, right?
Yes.
So is that one of the few times where the grass starter could just absolutely destroy the the final form? Because the starter gets like flying moves like aerial ace and shit, right? And then the last one is a grass fighting type.
The problem is natural Decidueye is, I call it natural. The first Decidueye is ghost grass. So the fact that this is a fighting grass, the new Decidueye, no, the OG would kick his ass.
Well, I mean like literally like first form Rowlet versus the third form Decidueye, I guess is what its name is. Like first form gets flying moves. Does the third form get flying moves? Or no, the first form isn't even like a fighting type, so it wouldn't be hurt by flying moves as much as the third form, right?
Exactly.
So like literally Rowlet,
yes,
like at the same level as a Decidueye, would just absolutely push its poop in, right?
Probably not because of the stats, but potentially, I guess.
If you think about it that way. Other than that, I only have one more criticism. Fucking Voltorb. When we saw Voltorb back in 1997, which was when the Pokemon anime premiered, everyone thought that was just a fucking Pokeball. And, you know, Nintendo, Game Freak, all these developers were like, no, it's just a coincidence. But then they fucking doubled down in this game by making Voltorb literally the same texture and look again as a fucking Pokeball. What is happening with this Pokemon? It's a Pokeball.
It's a Pokeball, and it's adorable, and I love it.
I've never cared about Voltorb or Electrode, so it doesn't really bug me.
When I say I love it, I mean like it's quirk. It's probably not gonna be on like teams ever, but like I like how it's shiny. So like the normal one is like the regular Pokeball, and then it's shiny as like the new lead ball or whatever it is, lead-in ball. Whereas like the shiny for the OG form is a great ball. I thought that was pretty cute.
I disagree. I think it's dumb, but that's
that's fair.
I was interested in Voltorb this time around only for its backstory, because there's a definite difference when you look at the modern Voltorb and the ancient Hisuian Voltorb. One likes people, the other was abused over thousands of years and grew to hate people.
Me too.
I mean, yeah, who hasn't been there?
So we have Arcanine, who JP, like at first I was kind of thrown off by it, but I love it. Like now, I think it's better than the OG Arcanine.
It grows on
in my
you.
opinion, which is
It grows on
and
you.
then
dude.
Electrode, we've said our thoughts. Typhlosion, I loved. Can definitely look derpy without the fires though. Quillfish, I've hated that Pokemon. And the new Quillfish looks, in my opinion, dope. Sneasel, meh, it's the same. It's fine. I never really liked Sneasel. That Samurott looked the same. It just has dark now, so it looks a little more edgy.
Edgy.
Yeah, it listens to like My Chemical Romance now and shit.
I love My Chemical Romance.
Lilligant was meh to me. Like, I'm sure some people absolutely love it. That's just like that cutesy style is not my thing. And it's grass fighting just like Decidueye, so I wish they would have done like, I don't know, grass. I guess Grass Fairy is pretty common too, but I don't
Grass Fire.
know. Or at least they should have done Decidueye different too. I just don't know. I don't want other grass fighting. We just got a new grass fighting. It just feels kind of stupid. God, Zoroark looks amazing. Like very edgy, very like almost like, but not over the. It's like over the top edgy without being over the top edgy. I don't know how to explain it.
It's actually not a bad description.
Like that's what all the kids who are running down the hallways with their hands behind their backs are going to be using.
Oh my god!
Don't do my boy or girl Zoroark like that.
Oh my goodness!
I love the new Braviary. I don't know why. I just love like it. It looked really goofy at first. I think JP's right. Like these kind of just grow on you.
They do.
And then Sliggoo and Goodra, they look the fucking same. Like it just is now a more prominent snail. So I don't know. Did you guys any other thoughts on Goodra?
I've always liked Goodra. The new design is so minimal that like I literally didn't even see a difference at first until someone pointed out, oh, they do look different. I'm like, really?
All these Pokemon I think have like cool signature moves that are like, I don't know, make them stand out more. Avalugg, didn't really care for, but it looks neat. And then Decidueye, we already talked about. Any of those that stuck out to you, or Peaches, any that you really liked or just really hated?
Peaches, you can go first.
I don't know. Like when I first looked at this, I didn't like most of the forms, and now I am up to nothing. The new forms.
You're just bleh.
Yeah, I just look at them. It's like, all right, it's another Pokemon.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's fair.
I thought it was cool that some Pokemon that didn't originally have evolved forms now got region-specific evolved forms, like the Quillfish that Zach was talking about earlier. That's about it. Otherwise, I didn't really see that cool region-specific that we've seen with, like, Galar and Alolan.
That's true. That's fair. All right, Zach, what do you want to discuss next?
Okay, so next is kind of a cluster. So try and do me a favor when I say gameplay. This is where I think I'm the happiest with Pokemon, and it's kind of encompassing a lot. So let's start with just like the maps, I guess. And we kind of talked about how they feel empty, but overall, like, did you guys like the Monster Hunter style maps? Do you wish it was like full open world, or what do you guys think?
The gameplay is the saving grace of this game. That is where this game really shines, and why, despite the fact that we've been so fucking critical of this game for the last 40 minutes, that is this game's saving grace, is the gameplay, right? It's fun. Even though the maps can feel a little empty, like, I like the different biomes idea, the idea that you can find Pokemon in different kinds of biomes, kind of like Pokemon Snap style. But obviously the biggest welcome change is how you catch the Pokemon, right? Being kind of like sneaking around in the grass, observing the Pokemon, and then figuring out, having the choice of what's the best way to catch this Pokemon, right? Do I want to throw a berry and sneak up to it? Do I want to say, fuck all of that and just battle it? And that's the beauty of this game. No more random encounters. You get to choose how you catch Pokemon. That is the beauty of this game. That's why this game is amazing.
Okay, Peaches, anything you want to add on to JP's comments about just kind of how it's a saving grace and the choice that he was getting at?
I mean, when I played Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, I don't think I got past like the third gym because I just got bored and put it down. Whereas in this one, I just occasionally get bored and go switch to something else, but I come back to it later. So
that's an important distinction to make, is like, do you actually miss the game when you put it down for a while? And for me, it's like, I can usually play for about 2 to 3 hours at a time before I'm like, I need to do something else. And then the next day, I'm like, I really want to pick this back up.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I guess this is where I would talk, like, I think that the gameplay works well with, like, the elements it's added. Like, I think the crafting system, going into the Pokeballs, going into the medicine, going into the lures, going into the stuns, I think that all works well together, and it's not overly complicated. I think it's easy enough to get crafting materials, and it's not a huge grind to like get all of these things that you need to craft a bunch of the Pokeballs and the potions and what have you.
And on top of that, if like you do run out of Pokeballs, you could just quickly buy them. It's not as cost effective as making them, but like there is that some balance of that, and the fact that we're not just growing and rolling in dough at the age of 15 or 11 or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of money sinks in the game. One main money sink, but also a lot of other money sinks.
Something else about the gameplay that I'm actually a little bit more critical of is the whole recipes. I like crafting systems. Like, I like the fact that, like, in this game, you could craft your own Pokeballs, and you had to find the materials to do that. I literally, besides revives and potions, never crafted any of the other bullshit. It felt like I just didn't have to. And further and beyond that, it felt like I was collecting a bunch of shit that there was like no real use for. Like, yeah, technically it's a part of a recipe, but like I never had any incentive to make the recipe. Am I the only one that felt that way?
I mean, the stuns can be useful. Like, if you're catching a Pokemon that's, say, level 75, while your Pokemon are all sitting at level 50, and you just throw like 3 of the sticky balls at it and stun it, and then throw a Gigaton ball at its back, like, you got a free level 75 Pokemon without having to battle.
Right.
So there is, like, I think that goes back to what you said, JP. Like, there's kind of that choice. Like, I kind of like that because there are times where I'm like, I just want to brute strength this. My Typhlosion's a beast. I got this. There's times where I'm like, I don't want to fuck with that level 75 Garchomp or whatever the fuck it was. Like, that's what kind of kept me, like, addicted to the game is, like, there was just so much choice and that the choice was rewarded through the Pokédex entries. Like, I like that now it's not just battle it or catch it. Now it's like, feed it berries, okay? Evolve it or do blah, blah, blah. And, like, it just makes it feel rewarding to do things that maybe I was already doing, but not, I don't know.
Can we talk real quick about how, like, you're trying to complete the Pokedex, and, like, to do that, you have to complete, like, certain things. Like, you have to see them do different things.
Yeah.
It's kind of annoying that, like, if I feed a Pokemon like a berry before its entry is officially in my Pokedex, that doesn't count towards my progression.
It does.
It doesn't, though.
If it does. So some Pokemon don't need to eat berries.
Well, like, I was doing it with, I can't remember which one, but, like, I fed it a berry, gave me no progression, I caught it, and then the Pokemon's in my Pokedex, and then I had to go back and feed it a berry, or feed a different one a berry, in order to get that progression.
That sounds like a bug, maybe, then, because that never happened to me, but it is possible.
Oh, it's happened to me, like, twice, and it was super annoying.
Same Pokemon?
Not the same Pokemon, just, like, 2 different Pokemon.
Interesting.
And I mean, while we're on the topic of gameplay regarding the Pokedex, here's what I love is, again, it's about choice, right? Because you have, like, there's about 2 in every Pokemon entry, there's about 24 different, like, we'll call them goals that you can accomplish in order to progress the entry for the Pokemon, right? Whether that's catching the Pokemon, battling the Pokemon, defeating the Pokemon, or seeing the Pokemon, like, do a specific move or eat a berry or this, that, or the other thing, right? That would have been an awful system if you had to complete all of those in order to get the full Pokedex entry, but you do not have to, which is its saving grace, right? You only have to do a few of those things in any order, any, like, style you want. And I think that's also really cool is, like, how players get to choose how they fill out the Pokedex. Like, again, what makes the gameplay so engaging is the fact that you have all these choices, which is something that Pokemon does not let you do, usually.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of agency on how you want to decide how to play the game.
Exactly, and I think that's what's fantastic about this. So, like, I've seen in other reviews and from other people I've talked to, they're not a big fan of the Pokedex because, like, all of the things that you need to do are generic. And what I always tell them is, yeah, but 1, you don't have to do them all. In fact, you don't even need to do most of them to complete the Pokedex entry. And 2, when have you ever actually gotten to choose how you want to fill out the Pokedex? Like, that's cool.
I mean, usually the Pokedex is filled out by you just catching the Pokemon.
Right, exactly. You catch the Pokemon one time, and then it's yours forever. The entry's there. You forget about that Pokemon, right? I feel like this is more engaging.
I do that now with, like, getting it to level 10.
And I mean, you gotta remember that this is the first Pokédex, so anytime in the future you would, like, catch a Pokemon, someone has already done the research, and that's why you get all that information. But for ancient Sinnoh, you know, you have to feed the berry to see how it interacts with it, because you are the one writing the Pokédex, causing all of this research for future people to just be able to catch.
That is true. The context might be the important factor as to why I find that gameplay engaging, but I don't know. I see both sides of the argument. I personally like it.
I could absolutely see how someone would get frustrated on their, like, 1,000th time of feeding a Pokemon a berry and then battling them to watch them do slash 5 times.
I agree, which is again, the reason why it's important to note that you do not have to do that to complete the Pokedex. You get to choose how it gets filled out.
But like one Pokedex entry that I really was annoyed with was Abra, because
oh my god, yeah, okay.
Abra will run away anytime you get like even slightly close to it. Just teleports, boom, it's gone. And so what I ended up having to do to complete that Pokedex entry without scaring off like the one location of Abras that I knew is that I caught an Abra on my like third try of resetting the map, and then I just like brought it into battle and used teleport like 30 times in Pokemon battles to finish the.
Oh my god, that sounds frustrating.
And see, so I had that same issue, and I just made the stealth spray, and then it didn't notice me, so I could sneak up to it, and catch it. Because I think you get bonus points for catching it because they know it's such a bitch to catch. But that definitely is one of that and Abra and the baby Pokemon, I think, are just some of the biggest pains in the butt. Just because they run away so quickly and easily.
Totally agree.
Which farther goes into that choice. Like, if you just said fuck it and you don't want to keep catching it, and that's just not worth it, you could do that teleport 30 times. Not ideal, but definitely can work.
Yeah, I mean, it was an annoying Pokedex entry to complete, and like it really, like, after I finished the Abra, I was like, all right, I think that's enough Pokemon for today for me.
Fair.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And then I'm kind of gonna put these together. Like, I love how they like made it so outbreaks, the alphas, and the nobles all worked out. Outbreaks being ways to catch Pokemon that are usually harder to get. Sometimes it could be easier Pokemon, but they would randomly spawn, and you go there to catch them.
Hold up, I haven't even gotten to a point where outbreaks aren't super common Pokemon.
Oh well.
I've seen like outbreaks of Teddiursa. I've seen outbreaks of Roselia. I've seen outbreaks of what's the dump fish?
You're gonna have to be so much more specific. There's lots of them.
Feebass?
The little skinny fish.
Basculin?
Barbarosh?
Remorash, yeah.
Yes, that one.
I've seen, and then I've seen like outbreaks of Burmy. Like, I have not seen a rare Pokemon outbreak yet.
You, sir, have bad luck. Let me guess. None of them were shiny, too.
No, none of them were shiny.
Yeah, you just got bad luck then, Peaches. Sorry to be that guy.
Get good, Peaches.
Don't go play the lottery. So, is your guys' luck been as shitty as Peaches when it comes to those outbreaks?
Pretty much.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've gotten like 5 shinies, so I guess Krista's rubbed off on me.
I don't like the way that was worded, but I'll allow it.
I was gonna say nice.
Well, alphas are not as random. What do you guys think about the alphas?
I have a very unpopular opinion. I do not like them.
What? Why?
Let me get into my financial situation here. I pay for Pokemon Home as a service, right? And my expectation is that all of the Pokemon that I catch amongst all these different games can be put into this service. And even though they may not be able to be transferred to each game, they'll be here. One of the things that frustrates me about Legends Arceus is that they do this gimmick. Every Pokemon game has this fucking gimmick that is not transferable to other Pokemon games sometimes. An alpha Pokemon is going to be this game's gimmick. It's just, I don't know. Like, it's just not that cool to me. I feel like they could have done something better. Like I appreciate there's a Pokemon that is harder to catch and the reward for having it is it's stronger. But just, I feel like there could have been another way to represent that other than just like, oh, it's slightly bigger and its eyes are red.
I mean,
I know it's an unpopular opinion, but it is my opinion.
It could be like a regular Buizel versus like a 2'4" Buizel. You guys want to talk about that real quick?
Are you talking about that one side quest?
Yeah.
Wait, what are we talking about? I zoned out.
The Buizel side quest where he wants a big Buizel.
Oh my god.
I mean, I like alpha Pokemon more than I like 2'4" Buizel. You know what I mean?
A 2'5" Buizel, 2'6" Buizel, 2'7" Buizel. Czar, you've probably at least seen an alpha Pokemon. What do you think of it so far? Because you're still in kind of that early honeymoon phase of that.
I like the concept. I didn't really put more thought into it, like beyond where you can take them into Pokemon Home and everything. But from what I've seen on the surface, I think it's a really cool activity that's just randomly placed in the world. You know, keep players playing.
I think they're pretty static, actually.
After you
are they?
beat the nobles, there's like a 2% spawn of like certain others like just any of the overworld Pokemon spawning. But yeah, there's a bunch of static ones like Peach just said too. So like that Rapidash you see at the beginning. I think it's Rapidash.
That Rapidash that is there exclusively to beat your ass.
Let you know this ain't your mother's Pokemon anymore.
It's for you to test the waters, right? That's everybody's first encounter with an alpha Pokemon. It's just, God, that Rapidash fucked me up.
I went right back. I got level 30 Gyarados. I was like, remember me, bitch?
The time has come.
I think we should mention at this point, I want to kind of talk about battling, because I feel like we've totally glossed over battling in our talk about gameplay.
If you go to the next thing, Peaches, we get into battling with EVs and battle speed. Thank you.
Battle speed? I don't know what you mean by battle speed.
Fine, we'll get rid of speed. Battles. Better?
All right, so.
Better.
Here's the thing. I really like battling. I think the battles in this like feel a lot more, like they feel a lot closer than battles in previous games where, you know, I don't like, I can't just over level one Pokemon and then like sweep an entire team. Like like other trainers actually do damage to me and like will take out one or two of my Pokemon.
That's true. I actually felt like compared to other Pokemon games, this game was a little bit more challenging. And that's something I appreciate because Nintendo, I know they don't like challenging games, but especially, and I know that's a huge overgeneralization. That's not fully true. But one franchise that has been true for is the Pokemon series. And I appreciate the fact that they're trying to make this like a more mature and more difficult Pokemon. And therefore, I think the battling system in this game was actually pretty stellar. Let me tell you about the most underrated feature of this game. The fact that you can choose the moves for your Pokemon on the fly.
Oh, yes, that is so nice.
Amazing feature.
Especially with how often you swap out your Pokemon because of like you get a new upgrade or a new thing or whatever. So yeah, GP. Huge underrated feature.
Along the lines of choice, like not only like you get to choose the Pokemon you want, how you engage with battle, and now you get to pick their moves too, like without some annoying move tutor to really make your team feel more unique, right? Like, I think that was a great feature.
Yeah, honestly, I hope every Pokemon game uses that feature in the future.
We'll see what happens. My guess is like if they do another Legends game, which they absolutely need to because they're getting a lot closer to cracking this formula. It's something they need to keep. It's amazing. I do love that. How'd you guys feel about the strong versus agile moves?
Thought it was great. I liked how it could make Pokemon battles super duper quick. And then I liked it because it added challenge because later in the game, the other Pokemon trainers actually learn how to use it. And I had some close encounters, even though like I had a pretty leveled up team. What about you guys? What about you, Czar?
Well, I've been thinking that the Pokemon battle system has been needing a new aspect to it for a while. And something that's not like, excuse me for saying this, but as gimmicky as like Dynama? Gigantamaxing? Yeah, Gigantamaxing.
Gigantamax, yeah.
And like Z form and stuff like that. Like this adds just a very definite layer of strategy to the game because do you want to hit harder or do you want to hit more? And how frequently do you want to do each of those?
That's true.
Yeah, it all worked out really well, I thought. Big fan.
What, you want to talk about another underrated feature? I like that your actual player can walk around during the battle. Like, that seems so mundane and stupid, but it adds a little more it's ironic that, like, the battling is when the game is at its best right now.
Well, it's...
Right? Because, like, the moves look way better, right? The Pokemon have more animations, the move has more animations, and your player can actually, like, move around during the battle and, like, call out commands. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a split from previous Pokemon titles where once a battle began, you didn't feel like the trainer anymore. You felt like you were playing the Pokemon battling.
Exactly.
But here in Legends, it just instills that feeling that, yes, you are the trainer always, and you have to care for these Pokemon. Their fate is on your hands.
Czar, you said that perfectly. That was exactly what I was thinking.
Well said, brother.
Yay.
Peaches, anything you want to add before we just talk about... I don't know, we need to like talk more about like how levels matter way less in the value system. Like I just feel like every battle feels like you could die, like at least if you're type advantage, disadvantage, and you're not going against really underleveled Pokemon. I I really love the battling system, and I kind of put battle speed earlier. Like, I like how like you go into a battle and your HUD like barely changes. They just water like a paintbrush over the health bars, and then they kind of keep going, and you can still move around. And that all happens in like under a second. It's just nice and quick. And if you want to leave, you can leave.
But you can't tank any hits for your Pokemon during the battle. I've tried, it doesn't do anything, so.
You do get knocked down, but it doesn't stop the attack from hitting them.
And it also doesn't hurt you.
I'll save you, Bidoof!
Thank you for testing that. I was like, I wonder.
Oh, it was one of the first things I did. I was like, I gotta see what happens if I get hit.
Pull a full Ash Ketchum.
Go between a Mew and a Mewtwo.
I just go to punch the Mewtwo.
Child.
Do you guys remember the anime where Ash literally threw a tree? Like a full-on log that weighed hundreds of pounds. He just picked it up and threw it.
I think I remember that.
That's why Mewtwo blocked Ash's hit, is because he knew that Ash was packing.
Ash is a fighting type going up against a psychic.
Still stupid, but admirable. All right, Zach, it doesn't look like you have much else here. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we get into final thoughts?
Oh, can someone explain what the hell effort value is? I've been using my grit dust, and I don't really even understand if my Pokemon are stronger or not, because I don't feel like it.
Yeah, it's very small, honestly, until like the very end. Like, I was looking at my Typhlosion compared to a Alpha Typhlosion, and the Alpha Typhlosion has barely less stats than my Typhlosion, if that makes sense.
And you've been feeding your Typhlosion's dust.
He had 10 special attack dust compared to the 0 special attack the one I caught was. And it was like 400 special, 383 special attack to like 367 or something like that. So it is a small difference, but it is a difference.
But a difference nonetheless.
I'm curious, that's just how strong alpha Pokemon are, or that's just how little the dust makes a difference? I don't know yet. More testing needed. Effort values, increase your stats. That's really it, though. So I think we did a good job. I liked how the shinies, you can hear them. I don't know if you guys like caught on to that little sound. Are you going around? And the biggest thing I want them to change is they need to let you organize your Pokemon, just like they let you organize your inventory by pressing the minus button.
Oh my god, the Pokemon inventory system is terrible.
I've accidentally gotten rid of Pokemon because I thought I had other ones in another pasture or whatever.
That has happened to me dozens of times.
Funny enough, it happened to me with Bidoof twice.
No, not Bidoof.
You're a sick fuck, Ches.
It's not his fault, it's the game's fault. Because that doesn't give you a way to know.
But why would you get rid of a Bidoof?
Because I thought I had one left over.
Because what are you going to do with 8 boxes of Bidoofs? Like, I like Bidoof, but that's too much Bidoof.
Take over Hisui?
Take over the region?
With the right number of Bidoof, I could take over the world.
I have a Bidoof rollout sled. Like, I just 6 Bidoof pulling me on a sled, and the other 100 following behind me as I lead them into battle.
Somebody paint that picture.
No, Zara, you got that right. You can edit that in. Edit in the picture of Bidoof's taking over Hisui.
How does he edit that into an audio podcast?
Just put that in and post.
Figure it out.
All right.
He's good at what he does.
Final thoughts?
Okay.
JP?
The problem with saying it was a good effort, it was a good effort, but I don't feel like that's giving the game enough credit for the moments where it's innovative. The fact is, the areas in this game where they fell short is true of every other Pokemon game that has come out within the last, 5 years, right? They need to get that together, but the ideas are all here. That's what I like. The ideas are all here. They're trying something new. They've got a lot of great ideas and great elements. They need to make another game. They need to make another Legends game. They need to listen to what the fans say, and they need to do it better next time, because they've got something really special here. They're literally working on my dream Pokemon game, and this is the closest they have ever been. They need to do this again. They need to make it better. They did a good job. It could have been a lot better. It could have been amazing. As of now, I personally give it like a 7.8 out of 10. Which is a good game.
Yeah,
but not amazing.
That's a really good game. A little surprised on that rating. I just wanted to briefly mention something in my final thoughts here that we didn't touch on. I think my favorite aspect of this game specifically is the fact that when you have your Pokemon in your party, it will tell you if that Pokemon is ready to evolve. So you don't have to guess, or it's not just random when it levels up. Like, you know, and you have control of that. I really like that. I think they did well with this game. Great first try. You're right, JP. More of these Legend games need to be made. And that's all I got.
What's your rating?
Oh, my rating.
Because you said you were surprised by mine, and I didn't know what you meant by that. If you thought mine was low or a little high.
Oh, I'd give it around an 8.5. I mean, at least higher 8s.
Okay. So like I said, I was going to be really critical of this one because I know it can be amazing. Peaches, what about you?
All right. So the game has a lot to like. It has a lot of old Pokemon stuff that I don't like. And then I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to give this a needs grapple hook out of 10.
Ooh. That's true.
Oh my god! A grapple hook makes everything better.
I'm trying to think of what Pokemon could substitute as a grapple hook.
What they need to do is just make a Pokemon in the shape of a grapple hook, and once you catch that Pokemon, you can use it as a grapple hook.
You can call him Grapply.
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 No, it'll be Cleffa's evolution, so you can also like get it like into your house too.
Oh, well, there you go. A rogue's favorite Pokemon.
And I think I would agree with both of you guys on what you said. I think I would give it a 9 out of 10.
You said both, but there's 3 of us here.
Well, you didn't. You gave it a grapple. I agree with all 3 of you then. All right, all 3.
Okay, thank you.
I give it a 9 out
You
of 10.
act as if the grapple hook wasn't a genuine criticism.
Thank you.
What are you talking about? That's serious.
Grapple hooks make everything better. Look at Halo.
Facts. Look at Halo. So my quick score, my final score, whatever we're gonna call that, is I'd give it a 9 out of 10, which is a little bit higher than you guys, but
Wow.
I think if they just got the graphics right, like this game could have been Game of the Year contender because it's like a good way to refresh a Pokemon game. I don't know.
That is going to be an interesting conversation, is what this game's place is going to be in the 2022 Game Awards.
It'll be up there.
I think that's going to be interesting to see. It'll be up for a few things.
And the cool thing is, there's a lot of games coming out this year. Sorry, JP, is that what you were gonna say?
That was part of it. It's unfortunate that this game came out earlier in the year, right? Because games that come out around this time tend to be forgotten about by the time the Game Awards come around, but who knows? I could be wrong.
Bro, I mean, tell that to Halo. Halo's going to be so shafted when it comes to Game Award season next year.
No, you are not kidding. You are not kidding.
Man, if they were really Game of the Years, they would have got award of Breath of the Wild. That's all I gotta say about that.
That's fair.
Didn't God of War come out in like November?
No, it came out in March, right? April or March?
All right. What do you think, Zach? Are you satisfied with the conversations we've had about Pokemon today?
I am satisfied. I will tell you guys, this game has sold, according to the Nintendo's Twitter, 6.5 million copies in 6 days. So,
Ooh.
there better fucking be another one.
That's like half of the sales of the Wii U.
That is half the sales of Wii U.
Just
That was
saying.
good. No, it was good. Good numbers.
I mean, if that sales trend continues, they're probably not going to have a choice but to do another game. I mean, if the people like them.
That's why it's important to support games like this, right? To let them know that we do want it. Like, besides the main Pokemon title, one of the biggest or most successful spin-off titles for Pokemon has been Pokemon Ranger, right? Because the demand was there. They made like 3 or 4 Pokemon Ranger games. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. Show the support. They need to do this more.
But then you look at Pokemon Sword and Shield, it's now become the second best-selling Pokemon game of all time. So we'll see what Pokemon Company does. They're true wild cards.
I mean, it's the first main title Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch, which was a unique like, even though it sold really well, I have heard more criticism for Sword and Shield than I have, like, praise, but that's just me.
Yeah. All right. I think that is about all we have for today. Unless you guys got any final thoughts. You guys ready to wrap this bad boy up?
Indeed. Do we have some game releases for this week?
Sure. Upcoming game releases. Zara, will you get these since I've talked a lot?
Yeah, I can get these. On February 9th, we have Action Arcade Wrestling for the Switch. And then on the same day, we have Backbone for the Switch. The next day, on the 10th, we have Crossfire for the Xbox Series, Xbox One. Edge of Eternity for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Cardboard Kings, and that is cardboard with a K, for the PC, Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue for the Switch, Kingdom Hearts 1.5 2.5 HD Remix for the Switch, Kingdom Hearts 3 for the Switch, No by Heart for the PC, and then on the 11th, our last game is Lost Ark for the PC. I didn't realize that Kingdom Hearts was coming out for the Switch this week.
It's the cloud version.
It's funny how it seems so moot.
Yeah.
At this point.
It's not doing very well. It's very sad. Don't recommend unless they patch a lot of things.
All right, boys, this has been a great episode. It's always so much fun discussing a game that we're all playing at the same time and just hearing the mixed matching opinions. What's weird is, like, not only are we playing this game at the same time, but for the most part, our opinions have all pretty much been aligned with one another too. But I think we all agree Pokemon's got something special here. They need to do more with the Legends series. Absolutely 100%. So, if nobody else has any final thoughts, I want to thank the audience so much for listening to another episode of the Game Tea podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode.
You just got your Game Tea.
Bye.
Later. Or wait, no, moi. Shit. Old habits die hard.
If you like what you heard today and you're looking for more ways to get your Game Tea fix, check us out on Patreon. With bronze, silver, and gold tiers starting at $2 a month, there are several incredible rewards you can receive for supporting the show, such as a follow from us on Twitter, access to a monthly Q&A session, an invitation to our private Discord server, and even bonus episodes of the podcast only accessible to patrons. Your donations will be used to make the show even better. The link to Patreon is in the description with our social media, so go check it out. Once again, thank you so much for listening to the Game Tea podcast.